we have with us Dr. Renuka Kumar, academic consultant, Department of Social Work, DDCE Utkal University. Now I request Dr. Renuka Kumar to introduce our speaker, Ms. Abha Mishra, Head of Office UNDP Odisha, India. Now I request Renuka Madam, please introduce our guest.
Thank you, Pradeep sir. Dear friends, a very good evening to all of you. I'm Dr. Renuka Kumar, Academic Consultant, Department of Social Work, DDCE, Utkal University, Odisha. I welcome you all to the Gyanalok Saturday lecture series on social development issues and role of development professionals, jointly organized by Gyanalok Trust and Department of Social Work, Directorate of Distance and Continuing Education, Utkal University, Odisha. Today we have with us an eminent speaker, Ms. Abha Mishra. Ms. Abha Mishra is currently working as Head of Office UNDP, Odisha. Ms. Mishra is a passionate development professional with over 30 years of work experience. She is a postgraduate MSc in Development Anthropology from Utkal University, Odisha, and currently pursuing her PhD in the Department of Rural Development, KIT Bhubaneswar, Odisha. She started her career with state-level NGOs and then worked with many international universities like University of Frankfurt, Germany, University of Edinburgh, Scotland, and University of Greenwich, London. She is skilled in project management, advocacy, action-based research, and has implemented a number of national and community level development projects. Her major contribution has been in the field of disaster management and disaster risk reduction, livelihood, housing, women's empowerment, and tribal studies. Ms. Mishra joined UNDP in December 1999 to support different state governments across India on the issues of disaster management and within the framework for disaster risk reduction on issues of housing, livelihood, gender, etc. During her work with UNDP Odisha, she worked for projects like rural housing, disaster management, and coastal resilience, waste management, skilling, and livelihood promotion to achieve the Agenda 2030 of Sustainable Development Goal. Out of her vast knowledge and experience on Agenda 2030 of SDG, Ms. Abha will deliver today on SDG Agenda 2030 in India and role of development professionals. On behalf of Gyanalok Trust, Department of Social Work DDC, Utkal University, and all participants present in today's lecture, I welcome our speaker, Ms. Abha Mishra, and request to address the audience. Over to you, madam.
Thank you so much, Dr. Renuka, and thank you, Gyanalok, for inviting me today. We all, as you know, since I think time memorable, we have been a passionate, voluntary country. Why I said this on the start is, if you really look at any of our, Vedas or our mythological literature or anywhere, somewhere or other, you would find that we as Indians have been always working towards upliftment of the country and specifically the people who are left behind in a sense. So today, when we look at the SDG agenda, somewhere we have to look at our roots and also think about where we have to go as development professionals. To start with, we need to understand why sustainable development is being talked about. Are we not all the development which has happened since the Industrial Revolution? Did we lose the concept of sustainability? And if we really think about it, we will realize, yes, we have lost it. Somewhere we have compromised the ability of our future generation to meet their own needs. We have not ensured that the environment is, viable. The natural environment is viable to take care of itself. We are not creating, sufficient economy, which is economically, our growth is as per our needs, and the social structures somewhere are getting disturbed. We are not nurturing our communities as we were doing. So basically, sustainable development emphasizes the need to see that development meets the present needs without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their needs. Uh, and we started to realize this, and debating about it long back. But in 2000, we actually started working on it, and UN took the lead on it, and we came up with the Millennium Development Goals. In the Millennial Development Goals, we basically had about 8 goals, and that goals had 21 targets and 63 indicators. But when we evaluated it, we realized that somewhere we are missing the bus. So learning on the achievements of the Millennium Development Goals, we came about with a sustainable development goal. Now, the goals had, the sustainable development goals increased in the numbers from 8 to 17 in the year 2015. And we also brought in about 169 targets with indicators, 232 indicators. But what was the difference between Millennium Development Goals and the Sustainable Development Goals? The Millennium Development Goals, which were for 15 years, and again we have SDGs for 15 years. The SDGs were, very, very development country focused, which said, oh, the developed countries are not the problem places. It's the developing countries which are facing problems. But SDGs realized this was not it, because you were finding a lot of changes within the developed countries. So the SDGs became universal. In MDGs, we only focused on the social aspect, which basically means, if you really look back, it was eradicating extreme poverty and hunger, achieving a primary education, gender equity, reducing child mortality, improving maternal health, or HIV or malaria, or ensuring environmental sustainability, and of course, partnerships. Here we brought in both social, we had retained the social, we brought in a little more of the economic, which was totally missed out, and broadened the scope of environmental. While MDGs were totally dependent on the foreign aids, we in SDG, we emphasize that while aid is there, we also need to invest in such a way. The domestic investment has to be such a way that it is sustainable. And not just the government, but the private sector has to also, provide more. They can't just be, using, gaining funds and, moving forward without, contributing to the country's development. Secondly, in MDGs, we were basically looking at official statistics and administrative data. Here, the data sets increased, where we brought in the big data, the citizen-generated data, which basically means the community is also being involved, geospatial, Earth observation, open data sources, and anywhere we can get the data. So the data collection process is also improved. If you really look at it, what is, happening?
कैसा लगा? बहुत लागत
We
अधिक
are
लगा।
fighting. We are fighting to finish. We are looking at zero poverty, hunger, preventable child deaths, gender violence. We are wanting to have a conclusive end, while MDGs were a little broad-based. We also want to have a comprehensiveness in our approaches. We are also thinking about the causality of the hunger. Is it just that their food is not reaching, or is it something else? We need to find that causality also and develop strategies to work towards it. Universality, we have already said, it's applicable to all countries, and even developed countries are also responsible. Inclusive. MDGs were not inclusive. They were only targeting, the poorest of the poor, because we felt at that particular point that if we uplift them, we will be able to achieve MDGs. But that did not happen. So there is a clear focus on leaving no one behind. Hunger, poverty. This was one of the biggest things. Hunger is something different and poverty is different, because hunger could be just poverty is about many things. It can be, housing, it could be your health issues, everything due to poverty besides the economic reasons. Peace building, because it was also been felt that, we need to include peace building activities, because if you look at Ukraine today, you find that the poverty in Ukraine would increase at certain given point of time, because the whole war has led to a crisis. So we really need to ensure that peace is there in the whole world. Then there has to be financing. SDGs cannot be, self-financed. It needs substantial finances. It needs from, technological transfers from developed countries. It needs international finance. It needs private and public finances from the countries. So it's very, very important, and it needs to be measured. It needs to be measured and on a regular basis. And for that, what happened? The international agencies 17 goals, identified 169 targets. For the 169 targets, they identified 232 indicators. So the whole world is being mapped on these 232 indicators. While the national government felt that these 232 indicators are not enough, looking at the complexity of and the diversity of the country. So they added on some more indicators, and they brought it to 295. Now, what are these goals? The first goal basically is end poverty in all its form everywhere. And within that, you have 5 targets and 2 sub-targets. Then there are 13 global indicators and 17 national indicators. So you can see the complexity of, mapping which is happening. The second goal is end hunger, achieve food security, improved nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. With the climate change, sustainable agriculture is very, very important, because unless and until you have a system, a robust system of agriculture which takes in the climatic variability, we will not be able to improve the nutrition or achieve food security, and we will not be able to end hunger. And for this goal, you had 5 targets and 3 sub-targets. Global indicators 17 and national indicators 19. Now, if you want to look at these indicators in details, you could always go to Niti Aayog's website, and you will find a document which gives you this indicators goal-wise. Goal number 3 is ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being of all at all ages. We have 9 targets, 3 sub-targets, and 29 global indicators and 39 national indicators. Goal 4 is about education. Ensure inclusive and equitable quality education, promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all. This is very, very important. If you look at our tribal areas, you find a lot of the COVID showed us that while rich and middle class people were immediately able to adopt to online education system, our poor people, vulnerable people actually dropped out because of poor network connectivity, access to instruments, and many more things, because they are not very comfortable with these things. So it really shook all of us. We need to think about how to work if we want to achieve this goal with 7 targets, 3 sub targets, 12 global indicators, and 19 national indicators. Goal 5 is about gender equity and empowering all women and girls. Now, gender equality, please remember, it does not just mean women. It means the transgender, it means people with HIV/AIDS, it means people with leprosy, it means any other marginalized group, be it the Dalit, the Christians, the Muslims, the Hindus, anybody, any sector, any section who is marginalized has to be targeted and worked. Of course, women make major chunk of this group because they have been for ages not been given the rightful space. And this is where we are talking about empowering women and girls by and monitoring 6 targets, 3 sub targets, 14 national global indicators, and 29 national indicators. When the goal 6 talks about water and sanitation. This is an issue which is exacerbated by the climate change also. And this is something which we all need to talk about, at what is happening, the heat waves, the heat stresses which is occurring in many places. Due to climate vulnerability and also the unplanned development in the city and the peri-urban areas. And to monitor it, we have 6 targets, 2 sub-targets, 11 global indicators, and 13 national indicators. Goal 7 talks about affordable energy, and one of the energies, the LPG gas cylinders, was one of the major work which India did, and has been, which has helped it to move beyond, to become more inclusive, reach the, the last mile also. But that's just the starting point. We are also doing very well in the solar energy sector. We are also doing a lot in the hydro and the wind energy, but our sustainability is also about how much have we reduced in our consumption from coal sector. That's also very, very important. So all these make up this goal 7, and we monitor it by 3 targets and 2 sub-targets. Indicators are 6 and 5 are national indicators. Now, this is the first time the indicators, national indicators, are either high or low. And some of you may be thinking, why is it happening? This is sorry, I think, can you see my? Yeah, this is happening because many of the global indicators may not have, India may not have sufficient data or does not have a mechanism to collect it. So they may have tweaked that data, or it is not, it is not for a country like India, so they may have not taken that indicator. But in some cases, they may have added the indicators because they think that the indicator given by the global world is sufficiently does not capture all the work. To give you just one example, Government of India talks about housing for all. Now, when they do the analysis and capture the data before the analysis, they use the data. They use only the data of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. But in most of the states, the state governments also have a lot of their own schemes. Like in Odisha, if I had to give you an example, we have Biju Pakka Ghar or Biju Pakka Ghar mining for specifically for mining areas or for construction workers. Now, where do you capture that data? So you need to add on in that housing for all data set. The Government of India has to give that space for the state level initiatives so that they get a clear picture how many houses have been covered, how many people have got houses. So in the similar way, Government of India also looked at all the data, talked to a lot of people across the country, experts, state officials, district officials at the grassroots level, and came up with these indicators, which could be enhanced indicators or a little lower indicators. Goal number 8 talks about promote sustained, inclusive, sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. Now, it has 10 targets and 2 sub-targets. There are 16 global indicators, but in India, we have 24 indicators. So it will make a very interesting study if you want to learn about what are the indicators in each of the goals, which is of your interest area. Third is basically the inclusive cities, building resilient infrastructure, promoting inclusive and sustained industrialization and foster innovation. The Atal mission is something which is very well known by a lot of you. That is one thing which is the smart cities, our infrastructure building activities, the highways which are being built, or the railways, the smart, the new railways which are being coming out. All these are part of the resilient infrastructure. We have 5 targets, 3 sub-targets, 12 global indicators, and 17 national indicators. Global 10 talks about reducing inequality within and among countries. This is very, very important. And it talks about 7 targets, 3 sub-targets, and 14 global indicators, 11 national global indicators. 11 is make cities and human settlement inclusive, safe, and resilient and sustainable. 7 targets, 3 sub-targets, 15 indicators global, 13 national indicators. Smart cities, resilient, the DRR cities, where you're putting in resilient infrastructure, be it housing, be it water supply, be it powers, systems, in the systems, the smart AI-based transport systems, all these come into this. The Global 12 talks about sustainable consumption and production patterns. This is very, very important to remember that, how are we moving about consuming and our production systems and producing it more sustainably without polluting our water bodies, without polluting the environment. We go in for a circular economy, and that is being monitored with 8 targets. We have 8 targets to do, 3 sub-targets, 13 indicators global, 15 national indicators. Climate change, it's very, very important. And this is something which is we all are witnessing in India. It has three targets, 2 sub-targets, 8 global indicators, and 6 national indicators. Life underwater is the goal 14, and it talks about conserving and sustainable use of oceans, seas, marine resources. That is one of the things, if you look at it, there is fishing bans at certain points of time across the country. The coastal regulation zones are being made. So there are a lot of things which are happening. We have 7 targets to fulfill, 3 sub-targets, global indicators 10, national indicators 11. Land on life on land, which talks about promote, restore, promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat deforestation, halt and reverse land degradation, halt biodiversity loss. Biodiversity loss. You know, when I started my career, one of my leaders, team leaders, used to talk about tiger versus bee. Should you save the tiger for eco restoration, or should you save the bee for eco restoration? It's a very good debate, and it still continues. And to measure it, we have 9 targets, and to achieve, we have 9 targets and 3 sub targets, with 14 global indicators to measure and 14 national indicators to, and we are doing quite well on certain issues, but in certain issues we are not doing well. We'll just look at it. Global goal 16 talks about peace building in the whole world, and which basically talks about peaceful, inclusive society for sustainable development. It talks about access to justice for all and build efficient, accountable, and inclusive institution at all level. Why is this very important? As I've just mentioned to you, what is happening in Ukraine, Syria, Pakistan, Afghanistan, what happened? It doesn't really work well for the world. We have 10 targets to meet and 2 sub targets to meet, but I don't know how far we will be able to. That's for all whole of the world. We have 14 indicators, but in India we are with 21 indicators. The final is partnership and with all the stakeholders. The reason is, without partnership, we cannot implement or revitalize our sustainable development. We need to work at global level, at local level, at every level. We have 19 targets with 24 indicators, global indicators, and 13 national indicators. Now, what are the 5 principles of this sustainable development? It's called people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. And where you are seeing this whole setup, which the 17 goals we are talked about. And when we look at it, what does people mean? People means that you have to look at goal 1 to 6. That is important because it would help us to end poverty and hunger in all forms and ensure dignity and equality. Because you're talking about poverty, you're talking about hunger, you're talking about good health and well-being, you're talking about education, gender equity, and clean water and sanitation. Prosperity, how will you ensure prosperity?
Madam, sorry to actually slide is not moving. Could you stop it and once again you can share?
Not no slides have moved.
No, still it is in goal 16.
Okay, I think okay, let me just do it.
Otherwise I think there is internet problem in your place, so I can share if you can permit.
No, I think there was some problem. Okay.
Because
is this okay?
No, still it is goal 16, I think.
No. Should I just stop it and redo it again?
Yes, I think that is better.
Because I think you see this slide?
No, not it.
Not yet?
No.
but it is showing on my side. Okay, maybe you can then share it.
Now it is showing. Now it is showing.
Okay. So
Make it full
this
screen.
slide basically, it's full screen. Okay, so this slide is basically showing the 5 main principles, and it is also along with that, it is showing which goals work with. So I was talking about prosperity, where we are talking about, we look at it from the angle of the 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 goals, where we talk about affordable and clean energy. We talk about decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, and sustainable cities and communities. So prosperity brings that. Direct people interaction is the first 6 goals. Then comes planet. How are we talking about planet? Because to protect our planet and natural resources and climate for future generation, we need to have responsible consumption and production. We need to take action on in such a way that the climate change impact is reduced. We need to talk about life underwater and life on land, because the way we are going, sometimes, we are entering into a biosphere reserve and creating a system there where our biodiversity is lost, both for flora and fauna. And that brings an ecosystem change. It could be even in the mangrove forest also. So we need to talk about these. We need to talk about, because when mangrove forest change, it brings a change in the land. It also brings a change of the land that is under the in the sea, which is life below water. So it's very, very important to talk about the planet and see how it. The partnership principle, sorry, the before planet is the peace, which I've already talked. The goal 16, which talks about peace, justice, and strong institutions. Unless and until we live peacefully with each other, we are inclusive, we will not be able to achieve the first 15 goals. And finally, every stakeholder has to come together and have a better partnership, because if we do not work together, we will not be able to achieve goal, because it will happen. Chhattisgarh may, stop the water for Odisha, or Kerala may, or Tamil Nadu will stop the water for Karnataka, or the Punjab will stop it for Delhi, and water is not available for the people. So, these are very, very important, and we really need to talk about it. So, what sustainable goals are? It's a balancing area for the 3 sustainable development areas: social, environmental, and economical. We have to bearable, equitable, and viable. We cannot always have, anything which is non-viable. We need to be. And the guiding principle is an integrated approach. We need to be ambitious, but have an integrated approach. We need to be, when we are integrated, we will realize that we are not leaving anybody behind. We are reaching the furthest first. The ultra poor are being reached. And if we are not indivisible, then we are ensuring universality. So the 5 implementing principles, what we talk about the overall principles. Now the implementable principles are leaving no one behind. We need to, each of us has to be accountable. We need to ensure integrated approach. It's not agriculture will do something which is not conducive for the water sector. It's like, you use too much of pesticides and other things, and you end up creating water pollution, land pollution, air pollution. And also harming the health of the people, which again leads to poverty. So your poverty, so you are, all the 7 goals are so integrated, and sometimes it is also not directly visible that if you do not have a proper integrated approach, you may lose out, and we will not have. We have to have a shared responsibility and universality. I have already said it is applicable to all countries. We cannot work without this approach. But when we, the interaction, when we do it, there will be a lot of things, uh, which will do a pull and push mechanism. The consistency, the coexistence has to be neutral. If we are not able to do it, there are certain things we are not able to integrate. We may not go in for a do no harm approach. We have to ensure all our actions have as much as positive result. If it does not have a positive result, it should not have a negative result. We have to be neutral to it. Let's say, for example, we know we cannot do without plastics. Then what we need to do is we need to ensure that certain types of plastics are faded away. Certain types of plastics are reused or recycled. So that's how we need to have enabling approach also. Access to electricity would enable young boys and girls to study. We need to think of reinforcing. We need to, climate change adaptive capacity would help us to reduce the losses in disaster. Indivisible is, ending discrimination will ensure full participation in this decision making. So, somewhere or others, there are a lot of these targets which are supporting each other. So we need to think about these and use it. Let's say there are constraining targets also. How water use efficiency sets a condition for irrigation for more yield. Now, how do you work that out? That's something you need to think about. Counteracting is also there. To boost economic growth, you may have, the waste which is being created, or the GHG emissions are more. How do we take care of it? So maybe we need to innovate. We need to bring in more technology. We need to also, think about other materials. It's like, many in the paper sector, in, the glue, which is being done. There are now looking at plant-based glues, which could replace the synthetic glues which have been created. And also there are certain progress which one goal makes it is sometimes impossible and it may reduce. Like if you say we come up with biosphere reserve and no tourism there. So it's against promotion. When you have full protection of nature reserves, it goes against promotion of tourism. So you really need to think about all these. And cross-cutting, I have already mentioned to you. This is just, again, a recap. We have social, which talks about SDG 1 to 6. The environmental talks about 12 to 15, while the economic talks about 7 to 10, 11, and fostering peace and partnership, of course, SDG 6 and 7, 16 and 17. As you can see from this particular, which was, produced by Lee Blank, the SDGs are all integrated. It's a web. You have to find where you are and work accordingly, because you are all working in certain sectors. You may not be working in other sectors, but you need to find where my sector is and how am I linked to different SDG goals, and then plan for it. How is it being done in India? The leadership in India is being promoted by the Niti Aayog and the planning department at the state levels. Institutional mechanism is again the Niti Aayog and the Statistical Promotion Institute, MOSPI. At the subnational is the nodal departments, which again mostly the planning departments, and the individual departments till the district level and high level. Monitoring again is done by Niti Aayog through SDG index, dashboards, national indicators. At the subnational level, a lot of the state governments have prepared their state level indicators and dashboards. Odisha has done a state level, district indicators are still underway, dashboard they are coming up with. And finally, we all the partnership is with like agencies like UN, international bodies. Looking at the national indicators, it was approved in 2018 after a 2 years preparatory based on countrywide consultations. There is a periodic review by sectoral committees. For all the goals, they have sector committees and they are doing. Any modification which needs to be done, there is an apex committee. Inputs are considered, incorporated from all institutions, and that includes all the state governments, the NGOs, the international bodies, everybody, the corporate sectors. And it is linked to the process of international indicator framework, because international indicator framework is also going on reviewing. So the third, which is coming 23, there are 295 indicators and has most targets, covering all the targets. We have more than 50 data sources, ministries and departments. Indicators speaks to national official data sources. The data are being collected from every space. 50% or 30% of indicators based on administrative data. State data sources are, as of now, hardly linked. So that is something which the Niti Aayog is working, like I mentioned about the rural housing. What we have achieved till date, we have country SDG baseline from 2019. We have regular SDG progress report. Go to Niti Aayog's website, you'll find all them. We have a SDG dashboard also, please look at it. And we are doing a lot of surveys, specific sectoral surveys, reports are also available there. Now, this is an interesting, I am sure you could look at it, but there are a little small, but I can't do much about it. It talks about, the latest data using in 2023. This is the, position composite scores from 100, where we are placed. Now, each one of you can look at where your state is placed. If I look at Odisha, I'm at 19. I was actually in 2022, I was at 16, but now I've slipped 3 places because of certain factors. The composite score has reduced. Here, score across the world is 66. So, coming to all of you, why are you important? What role do you play? All of you work with families, groups, organizations, and communities. That's your target group. And what do? Is you promote health and well-being. You work as peer educators, researchers, decision makers, and work at the state and margins of our community as influencers and with influencers and vulnerable group. Development professionals have an opportunity to redefine their roles as we grow. Our 70 role will not work today. So we need to talk a little more holistically, where people's empowerment in today's context, because I don't need food money. I also need a livelihood where I can put in, have something more in hand to grow socially, to buy a mobile, to, go for a cinema, go for eating out. So that is the type of thing I want to also do. And I know what my right is. So I need to talk about it, and that's where you need to start working. Why you are also very important is because you accompany the people in the whole of their life cycle. You connect people to services and make services work for people. So that's also very, very important. These are 4 very important work which you do. You have a rich history. There could be challenges which we will talk about, but you still are working within those challenges to promote and ensure social cohesiveness. And that is very important. That is so, so important, because if peace is not there, if you do not have justice, you excess justice, there is bound to be problems at all levels. Understand the human needs, and you can interconnect. So your role becomes more important, and that's very, very important for all of you to remember. You can work at all levels because you're already working with the ultra poor, Dalits, the marginalized, the migrants, and you're ensuring that no one is left behind. So your role becomes so, so important when we are talking of attaining the SDG goals, because we are talking about a principle where we are talking every goal has to work in such a way that we leave no one behind. You can also bring out the nuances and support policies and institutions to develop a framework which ensures that no one is left behind. And these institutions work for everyone. You also have to play a role at the international level, because without the learnings from the ground level, no international policy can be developed. And every area has different problems, different challenges, and also different setups. So this is very important, where you as development professionals have to engage with UN agencies, have to engage with high level political forums to ensure that the voices are heard from every society. Uh, it is not just about at the grassroots level, but COVID also showed us that there are people we are missing out in the urban areas. And that's where your role is so important. Just to give you a couple of hints, you are all working to end poverty. So your role when you work contributes to SDG 1, target 1.3. Your healthy health when you work with the health sector, you actually are contributing to SDG 3, target 3.8. When you talk about education, you are contributing to SDG 4, where because adult education is something which you talked about. The childhood, the early learning patterns, you are the ones who started it. You are giving care to those young kids so that the young children are able to go, and rather than taking care of their siblings. Goal 5, gender equity and empowerment. We are fighting for the right of LGBTQ. We are fighting for, universal access to health systems. The Ayushman Bharat is very much what you must have all contributed to. 8, sustained inclusion, sustainable economic growth. You are working to ensure that economic wages, the wages are equal for all. You brought in the whole MG Act, the right to employment is something which you contributed and you will contribute. And of course, reducing inequalities, policy dialogues, advocacies is something which you have to the social protection schemes came into focus in the COVID, because we realized that there are a lot of left out. People, when the government started using Aadhaar for everyone, you are the ones who went ahead and fought, saying that there are people who do not have Aadhaar for various reasons. You cannot put them out of the PTS. You have to bring them under the Food Security Act. They should be given with or without Aadhaar. So these are works which you are already, and you are contributing to these SDGs. But there are a lot of challenges, because your work will always, you would always try to address both human rights and environmental concerns. When a big dam comes in, you work for it. When there is a developmental work which is going against the government, the people of that, let's say demolition of encroachments in certain areas, you want to fight for that issue. You want them to be settled before their encroachments are demolished. So there will be always there. When we are talking about moving people from the biosphere reserve, you are fighting for their right, because you feel they are the guardians of the forest. And if we do not give them the rights of the forest to, then we are discriminating them, because they understood what their life was. The one of the challenges which we are seeing now is in the whole, like I mentioned, in the community organization leadership and legitimation. That's basically because, the formal traditional, has disappeared, or it's diminishing. We need to bring in a new way of leadership that's very informal. Sorry, it was both traditional and informal leadership. So that needs is where the organization which has been working, uh, the leadership has to create awareness, mobilize inhabitants, because in this world of doles, uh, the inhabitants are unwilling to contribute themselves. Uh, I remember starting a waste management program in the cities. The the city dwellers, even very highly paid middle income group, are saying, why should we are already paying municipal tax, why should we give another 20 rupees or 50 rupees to the safai karmis who are coming and collecting it? They are being paid, but this is an additional, because they are coming to your house to collect it. They are not being paid to collect from each household level. That's not their job, but they are doing a service, so that ensuring that the garbage, everything is at a certain place. So these issues will be there, and the municipal, the urban setups will have to find ways and means to sustain themselves. Then there are political developments which makes development works more controlled and repressed when it comes to issues, specifically when we look at access to land right, land use. I think you will find these challenges not only today, but it was there earlier also, and it will remain. The quantum or the way it is being done is there, but these are challenges, and this challenge would also, negate some of the good work which we have achieved for the SDGs, and also become a very become a constraint for achieving certain SDGs. So we need to think of. And then again, the final thing is the governments are competing through assistive measures. Earlier, not the the social workers were able to reach out to the people with their welfare schemes and ensure there was equitability, there were transparency, people were willing to contribute. But now with government patronage for many of the works, this system is changing. So we really need to think about what to do, how do we do it, and what could be our role, how will we change our role to take up these challenges also. I will end here, and I think I've spoken more than 45 minutes to 50 minutes, and I'm sure you are tired of my monologue. So we will go in for a, if you have any questions, I'm willing to answer.
Thank you. Thank you so much, madam. You worked a lot of, to design the PPT. We can see. uh, uh, Thank you for your presentation, and I hope all the participants present in today's session would have understood really what is SDG and how it works in a developing country like India and other countries also. And also you highlighted the SDG in Odisha and how we are also contributing for SDG. Thank you once again. Now I request any participant, if they want to ask anything or anything they want to contribute to this presentation, they can have.
I think it was quite clear, so nobody wants to ask a question.
Asutosh sir want to ask anything? I think Professor Asutosh Pradhan. Yes.
Madam, thanks for a lesson. Since UN is the Millennium Development Goals. I have a basic question in the sense that why is it that we keep on moving from one sort of indicator or indices or index to another? Why don't we continue with the same thing? And do we have a sort of an assessment whether the Millennium Development Goals that were set, to what extent they have been achieved, and whether we have failed in those? And should we continue with that, or should we set up some new goals and new targets? Your valued observations on this.
Thank you, Santosh sir. Ashutosh, sorry, Ashutosh ji. If you really look at, there was one slide where I said, why did we move away from Millennium Development Goals to the Sustainable Development Goals? The what happened was the Millennium Development Goals, when they looked at it, it was a very, very small work which was being done only in developed countries. In developing countries, the developed countries were giving something and they were doing it. You cannot achieve, with the foreign aids which are coming in from developed countries in India to, change the hunger pattern in the country, or, uplift all the people from poverty. So when the second part of your question, yes, they actually did an assessment of how much we have achieved in the Millennium Development Goals, and we realized that they did not really work well. So that is one of the reasons why they brought in the inclusivity. They brought in all the countries of the world under this particular Sustainable Development Goals, and the goals which were there in Millennium Development Goals, they are still existing, and we added on some more goals which are contributing to it. Let's say, take a case of poverty. Now, poverty in a city and in a tribal area, in a forest dwelling community would be totally different. If we do not preserve the forest area, the poverty does not get reduced, because they are also, gathering certain economic benefits from the forest. So these were the reasons why, you have to work together, and each of the sustainable development goals are interlinked, and that is one of the reasons why they brought in the economic parameters, economic goals, as well as the environmental goals, along with the social goals. I hope I have answered.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Other can also ask if they have any questions or any doubt, or in fact, if they want to know add anything to this, they can also do.
I see Dr. Moolraj here. Dr. Moolraj, anything you have to ask?
Also,
Dr.
when somebody
Moolraj,
can add on to my knowledge also.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir, and good evening, ma'am. Sau, sir, good evening. It was
Sir,
wonderful.
sir, can you please switch on your video?
Actually, it's a power cut here.
Okay, no problem. Yes, continue, sir.
Yeah.
Dr. Moolraj, please introduce yourself.
Yes. I'm Dr. Mulraj, working as assistant professor in Chaudhry Bansi Lal University, Bhiwani, Haryana. So it was very good session, very good presentation, ma'am. I think we should conduct awareness program on SDG and its effective implementation at grassroots level, and lot more work need to work on it. This was really a presentation which covered the things which we can cover in awareness program at community level. So again, congratulations Gyanalok team, and congratulations especially to Sau sir and Ashutosh Pradhan sir. It is good series going on. Best wishes from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, I would like for you to know also that Haryana is one of the state which has very good work being done in SDGs, and they have a vision document also, and also they have SDG related SDG aligned budgeting at till the district level. So I would suggest is that, sir, you should go to the SDGCC cell of Haryana, look at it, and I'm sure you would be able to find what is happening in Haryana. They have very good apps. They are doing a lot of training material. And I think if you can ask the planning department people also, they could also be a part of your college also for at least some work and other things. And if you like, we could always connect you with the SDGCC cell which is there.
Okay, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Madam, I would like to carry forward what Dr. Moolraj said relating to awareness on SDGs. Do you have any program, a conscious effort to reach out to educational institutions of higher education, like those who are in the business of social work, sociology, anthropology, or for that matter, any other discipline where you feel that if we pass on the mantle to academics or to the NGO sector, then there would be an additional impetus to this awareness. And probably, if let us say, for example, students of social work are given additional inputs, then probably their work also would be more impactful in future when they take up some job. Your observations on this, ma'am?
Uh, Ashutosh sir, actually, as such, they are not very targeted programs which are going on unless and until academic institutions want to do something. But UGC has been talking about it, and there are institutions who have created certain cells, and they have included it into the course curriculums. UNDP is coming up with a online module very soon. I think it will be launched very soon, which would be open to everybody who wants to, take up understand more about SDGs. So there are certification courses which with Niti Aayog and others, they are in the process. I think it should be there very soon. It will be launched. So that would be another thing. But institutions are doing it on their own. Different departments also do it on their own. Like, the innovation or the startup groups, they would call anybody to talk about why SDG and innovation. Or an environment person would ask about what is SDG all about. So it again depends upon institute to institute. I think UGC, I don't actually know if UGC has sent out a circular or anything, but Niti Aayog does a lot of work with institutions, certain institutions.
Yeah, I'm aware of a lot of institutions, and especially schools of social work, including the MDGs and SDGs later on in their curricula. My worry is that the knowledge that probably we would provide to our students would be more bookish than based on evidences from the field, or rather evidence-based research or work that is going on in the field. Um, uh, this particular issue I raised because you may be also knowing about a national level institution, NISD, National Institute of Social Defense. They have a policy that they would reach out every year. They would reach out to n number of schools of social work, and they would conduct either workshops or seminars, conferences, um, in a structured manner. And that is how they reach out to the students and also the faculty of various departments, be it social work or any other. So, since UNDP is a large organization with a large support base in terms of resources, I think in future at your own level, if in future you could, it's only a suggestion from my side, not necessarily you would entertain this sort of a suggestion. But we have found these sort of workshops and seminars, half day talks, or one day lecture series, worthwhile for our students. Also, whenever such programs we conducted in our Department of Social Work with the active collaboration of NISD.
Right, sir. Thank you. Basically, what happens is UNDP is the integrator of the whole SDG, and we work, as I mentioned, we work basically with the departments and other things to gather information and do it. at these state levels, whenever, like, let's take an example, because I'm from Odisha, any of the institutions who have been, who would like me to talk about SDG, because we do not have too much of resources, be it human resource or the fund resource, because unlike many other agencies, UN agency, we are very policy advocacy related oriented and all those things. So we do not have too much of resources, and with India going into a middle income group, those resources are reducing also. Government is taking up a lot of things, so we do it. So in the Northeast, there is my colleagues who go around. There are SDGCC cells in Nagaland, Assam, and others. So they get approached. Like I mentioned, in Haryana, Punjab, JNK, so in Karnataka, they already have these cells, so they can approach them to organize these. And some of the state governments are also very keen to bring in the universities, so they also themselves organize few things.
Right,
Thank you,
madam.
ma'am. To add this, Dr. Mulraj has written like UGC has asked university to work on SDG, especially on sustainable consumption. So now we have Madam Shahida Begum. She wants to ask any question. Madam, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself, then ask whatever question you have. Can you hear me, Madam Shahida Begum? Okay, you have Mr. Arun Maharana. You can ask.
Ma'am, ma'am, good evening. I'm Arun Maharana, working as a district coordinator in CMC Vellore and worked at Rayagada district. Ma'am, actually, many others saying that after 2030, what will happen about SDG? If we hello.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
you are audible.
We can
Continue.
be audible.
Ma'am,
Yeah,
what will happen?
Arun, to be very, what happens is they are monitoring. We still have about 8 years to go. They would be monitoring. There would be certain, we may not, because of COVID also, there has already been realization that we may fall short on certain things. The monitoring is happening. So what will happen is that if we are not able to achieve certain targets, then
Yeah.
those targets, like the MDGs got converted into SDGs, in the similar way, you will have maybe a little different name, but the targets and will remain. We will still keep on working. Everybody is saying, specifically, let's say, in the health sector, malnutrition has to be totally removed. Now, malnutrition, to a large extent, we had said we will do 100%, but we may fall short of, let's say, 60 or 80%. Then we can take it, okay, we will may increase the number of another year. We'll say another 5 years we will achieve it. That is
Okay.
how it will go. Everybody is working towards achieving it, but if it doesn't happen, then we will have to, the world leaders will again think about it and come up with a new strategy how to do it.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Namaskar. Pradeep sir,
Yes, yes. Please introduce and ask your question.
my name is Ramakant Sahu. I've been working in corporate since last more than 20 years. So unfortunately, I'm in office, so I would not be able to.
Okay, okay, Ramakant, no problem. Yes.
First of all, thank you so much for arranging this beautiful series of sessions. I have been, though I'm in office, but still I try my level best to go to the meeting room and listen live classes. I know there is a recording available, but still I just wanted to interact with. And good evening, ma'am. Good evening, Ashutosh sir. I think Renuka madam has left probably. My question is, like, we are working in corporate, so we do hear two things in corporate. One is that diversity and inclusion. The other one is the cultural sustainability. Do we have any link, direct link with that sustainable development that SDG we are talking about today?
Yeah, of course. The diversity and inclusion is when we are talking about, the goals where we say gender equity, when we say inclusive communities, 11 or goal 11, goal 5, that is there. Corporates, what sometimes happens is, in the boardrooms, you only find men or you may only find women. That doesn't really work. We need equal representations from each of them. So in many of the, you're now there are policies which are ensuring that women is given a space on the board. Then secondly, also within the corporate sector, when you are in the offices, how inclusive are you? Are you inclusive for a differentially abled person? Do you have a bathroom where this person can go properly, or do you have a bathroom which caters to normal people? And if there is a transgender, which bathroom does the person use? How are inclusive you are? Do you have a workspace harassment, sexual harassment policy? Do you have an ambassador where the person can go, and if there is an abuse of authority, you have a proper space within your organization who can go and report, or even just go and talk about certain things? Have you ensured that you have crutches in your corporate sector for mothers who are newly mothers, or once a woman becomes a mother, she's not brought back into the workforce of your system? So, you play a major role. And the other flip side of it is also, what are the type of consumption you are doing in office? Let's say, I don't know which type of corporate you are. Let's say you are a corporate which produces electronic goods. Are you using efficiently all the materials which is being brought, or your wastage is too much? Or, okay, if you have ensured your wastage is very minimal, but are you ensuring that disposal of your wastage is there properly done? Or if you have, once you have sold and good, there is no buyback mechanism, you don't know, you're least concerned where it goes. It's like, the Pepsi bottles, everything is now floating in the oceans. We have also found plastic in the bloods of people. Now everybody started talking about circular economy. We are going in recycling, re-waste, and so corporates play a major role. And your profit through the CSR funds, you are deploying it back to ensure that the communities around you are uplifted. Because uh, a good community, a buying community is what is required for you. If people don't have, in the COVID, people lost their jobs, every sector went into recession because people are not there to buy. If your goods don't move, you don't earn. I hope I answered your question, sir.
Yes, ma'am, that is absolutely fine. And fortunately, I have been working in a bank. So we have crèche, we have transgender, we have the transgender bathroom setup, we have the everything we have on that in-house in our building. So, I mean, I'm so lucky and so happy to see and hear from you that we have such type of facilities, what exactly the society as a sustainable point of view required at this moment.
Yes, sir. And sir, one more thing, like banks have to start now, the whole concept of digital literacy is happening, but there are a lot of elderly who are there. Well, that's where when we talk about leave no one behind. It's like I'll just give you an example of my own house. My father is 85. He just don't want to go anywhere. Now, how do I, do the bank work? Okay, the government has said, okay, you don't need to give life, that somebody will come and collect your, you are alive certificate. But if I want to, the funds, money is there, I want to open a fixed deposit, how do I do it? If I don't have a child staying nearby, then who does it for me? What is the bank providing? Is the bank providing any system? These are new things which are arising. Many of the elderly people are not very, we just did a small survey on digital literacy, and Pradeep is also there with me and he's been helping out in that. And most of the these elderly between 60 and 80 are unwilling to do online banking. And the basic reason why they say fraud, somebody will scam me out, somebody will take my money out, I don't know how to use the internet. So how will bank, come and be inclusive for them? So every sector we will get new challenges. And all the best. And thank you so much for sharing your bank's works. And it's heartening to know that, banks are becoming more and more inclusive. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, ma'am. Just to add a few points, as you have mentioned that elderly people, in 2016 or 17, RBI has put a circular which is mandate by all the banks. If the customer or prospective customer also, if he or she intends to open or keep a relationship or create a relationship with any bank, private or nationalized bank, so the bank manager to provide senior citizen such type of services, even if the cash withdrawal at their home, at their place, and if the person is a super senior citizen who is 80 plus, and that they have to mandatorily come to their place, make them understand, not there is not any kind of compulsion or any mandate to open or transact through online. They have to do in front of their presence. If there is nobody to support, like any child or any known person, even if the known person is there, bank employee has to ensure by the customer, do you know him directly or is there any? Because if you look at the statistics of fraud, whether it is financial or any trafficking or anything, majorly 60 to 70% known people is involved on that. So in coming to the banking circulation, it is mandated. If any bank manager, bank employee denying to do that, they have to, bank has to take a severe action against them. It is a RBI circular on that.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm going to check out that circular.
Any bank, just let me know. If any bank, whether it is private, cooperative society, credit, or any nationalized bank, definitely they have to provide services at doorstep. Whether the person is, differentially abled, or it is senior citizen, or is a lady who is alone and needs any support, irrespective of any age, on that.
Thank you, Ramakant sir. Actually, please forgive me. It is written like Dolly. If you have any question, please ask. Introduce yourself and ask whatever question you have.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Can you please change your name? It is seen like no Dolly. So.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. Ask whatever question you have. Yes.
Sir, I would like to know, is there any guidelines for industry from government to meet SDG through CSR?
Okay. guideline for industry to meet SDG through CSR.
No, sir, there is no guideline per se, but most of the activities which are happening through the, through the CSR, use of CSR funds, a lot of agencies, specifically like Tata Trust and others, big agencies, they are actually mapping it out and also sharing it with the Government of India so that the corporates contribution to the SDGs are also collected, integrated by the NITI Aayog. And now they are also going to work more and more with the corporate sector to ensure FICCI, they are already working with FICCI and ASSOCHAM and others to ensure that they are being able to take it.
Yeah, just to add something, ma'am, if you allow me.
Yes, please, sir.
I have been with like in our bank, I have been working as a CSR committee, working committee member since last 5-6 years. So that funds have been regulated or a statutory instruction by the Government of India to mobilize that fund only for the CSR activities. But there is a strong rules regulation comply to that is we have to have the audit, and the audit report should go along with your statutory audit report. So that kind of strict instruction has been placed because on earlier times, so people like the company owners or directors or managing directors, they have to falsify or manipulate things. So now Government of India realized, so along with the CSR funds, there is a mandate audit. The report should go along with the statutory audit.
Absolutely, sir. What you are saying is right. But most of the work of the CSR is for the community's benefit, so that that mapping can be easily done. But how much the CSR as of now is doing the mapping, that's a different issue. But that's a very good and thank you so much, sir, for the information.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jyotsna ma'am, do you want to ask anything?
I think there is a Shaida Begum is there also. Yeah,
But
please.
no, she is not responding. So
Okay.
Shaida Begum, ma'am, can you hear me? If you can hear me, then please unmute and ask whatever question you have. I think no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jyotsna ma'am can ask.
Abha ma'am, good evening. Pradeep sir, namaste. Myself, Jyotsna Das. Today I am attending this seminar from Paradip. I am a student of Pradeep sir. I have done MSW, and at present I am working. I have my own job, but I am passionate about working with physically challenged students. There's a small school we are running. There are 35 physically and mentally challenged students over there. Now, my question is, how is it possible to integrate these students in general schools? And how far is it beneficial for us and them?
Ma'am, actually, the inclusion has to be done at certain point, and looking at the special needs of these students, it will depend upon if the student is able to be a part and parcel of that school. What type of additional requirements would be there for that child? Now, each of the colleges,
those who are having hearing impaired, we integrate them within 1 year because they are able to understand how to use the device, so they get integrated within 1 year. But for others to get included, we find we have a big challenge. It becomes impossible for us at this level, though we are running the school since 11 years, but yet we find it a big challenge. Parents want that their children must be integrated in general school, but we find that we are not able to integrate them for hearing, and also for those who are having partial blindness or so, they also get integrated through Bhubaneswar. One of the school is there who take care of them. Braille lipi they give, we train them, and after that they get integrated. But for all other, we find it very, very difficult. Is it actually possible? Because parents have an aspiration.
Yeah, it is possible, but again, like I mentioned, it will depend upon what type of disability it is. And secondly, if you are able to find a college or a school where the facilities which is required is available. That is the whole purpose of this SDG. When we talk about leave no one behind, when we are talking about inclusive cities or inclusive infrastructure, that's what we are talking about. If we go back to, if I take a case of Odisha in 1999 super cyclone, most of the cyclone shelter would not have been able to accommodate any type of differential abled person. The basic reason, because you even to you had to climb staircase. Now there are a lot of people who will not be able to. Now the ramps are there. If you go to the bathroom, you didn't have the inclusive bathrooms. Now you are having the inclusive. And it is not just a disability from the childhood. It is also disability which is acquired. It could be through an accident. It could be an old age. It could be for anything. So we are still working for it, and it will take time in India because we have not given them the space which they deserve. So it will take some more time. I think, Jayashri, there are schools which are taking specifically wheel-bound differentially able people are able to get into the colleges and schools and other things. But for many other differentially able persons, it's a little difficult, because I know autism, one of my friends child was autistic, so it was a little difficult because people did not understand what it is. But if you go to now Kerala, you will find a lot of these care centers which are coming up, which are actually preparing them to enter these colleges, where they are having special educators within the colleges and schools. So we there is still a long way to go in Odisha.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other question? Hope. I think no more question. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for such a detailed and informative presentation. And me and all the participants of today's session must have understood many things about SDG. Although SDG is now it is one of the major indicator to measure the path, progress of development, or the degree of development that we are achieving day by day. But many people don't understand what is the SDG and what are the targeted goals, agenda, all these things. So I hope all must have understood actually what is SDG and what are the things in it. Thank you so much for your time and for your I can see the hard work that you have put in the presentation. On behalf of Directorate of Distance and Continuing Education, DDCE Utkal University, Gyanalok, and other participants of the session, once again we thank you. And I also would like to thank Professor Ashutosh Pradhan. In every session, he used to attend the entire session and get involved with the session and discuss many things and make this session more vibrant. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and getting involved with us. Thank you so much, all audience present in today's session. And ma'am has already shared the PPT with me, and by today or tomorrow you will get the PPT. Who could not see anything, or due to internet issue who would not have listen anything, they can get the information from PPT. Once again, we'll meet in the next Saturday at 6:30. Good night. Shubharatri.
Thank you.
Thanks, madam. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.